April 1, 1945. The largest amphibious assault of the Pacific War hits Okinawa's beaches under Lieutenant General Simon Bolivar Buckner Jr. Be the U.S. 10th Army, soldiers of 24th Corps, and Marines of 3 Amphibious Corps comes ashore to pry open the last door before Japan itself. Hidden among M1 Garands and Thompsons, a small cadre carries something that looks like science fiction. Carbines fitted with infrared scopes that let a man see in total darkness and kill what he sees. Fellow GIs call them Buck Rogers ray guns. Their effect will echo far beyond the shoreline. The roots lie in the blacked-out jungles of Guadalcanal and New Guinea, where Japanese infiltration turned night into terror. Small teams with Arisaka rifles and grenades slipped through lines, cut wires, and knifed sentries. You'd hear them out there, a rustle, a snapped twig, and nothing to shoot at. One infantryman remembered. The Army's response formed at Fort Belvoir. Give a rifleman artificial night vision. Engineers married 3 existing ideas: an infrared searchlight filtered to invisible wavelengths, an electronic image converter that painted a green picture, and a backpack power supply stepping a 6-volt battery up to thousands of volts for the tube. The result, the T-120 sniperscope, worked out to roughly 70 yards. They mounted it on the light, handy M1 carbine. Heavy Garands and inaccurate submachine guns were ill-suited. The carbine's low recoil and compact size were ideal. An integral mount receiver created the T3 carbine. Later, the standardized package was called the M3 carbine, and many sets rode on the selective fire M2. The whole rig, scope, lamp, cables, transformer, and 6-volt lead-acid battery ran about 34 pounds. Operators worked in pairs or threes, a shooter, a batteryman with spares, and sometimes a security scout. By spring 1945, roughly 1,900 scopes had been built. About 150 sets were earmarked for Okinawa, with others fighting in the Philippines. Training was essential. The green image had shallow depth of field and a narrow view. Wind-stirred brush looked suspiciously like men. Teams practiced tracking, estimating range in darkness, and coordinating with nearby units to prevent fratricide. They learned the limitations too. Rain and fog scattered infrared light. Moisture fouled electronics, and the hungry tube drained batteries in hours. Opposite them stood the Japanese 32nd Army under Lieutenant General Mitsuru Ushijima, entrenched in a honeycomb of caves and reverse slope positions, counting on night to punish American perimeters. On April 6th, as small infiltration squads crawled forward with grenades and satchel charges, the new optics erased the oldest ally of the raider. Private First Class Robert Chun of the 96th Infantry Division lay behind a T3 carbine, scanning a pale green world. 3 figures appeared in the grass, closing the distance. He waited until they reached his envelope. One rose to signal. Chun pressed the trigger. The T-23 flash hider masked the muzzle flare. Through the scope, he watched the man fall, then the others. Across the lines, similar scenes played out. Ghostly silhouettes, a quick snap of fire, then stillness. The change was immediate and psychological. Men who had dreaded night for years suddenly owned it. It was like watching a movie, one squad leader recalled. These green figures, thinking they were invisible. You fired, and they just dropped. Word spread of ghost killers, and Japanese radio traffic registered confusion. Rumors of Americans with devil eyes and uncanny aim. One captured sergeant said simply, "We moved, as we always moved, but the Americans could see us." After-action summaries credited the infrared carbines with outsized impact. In the campaign's first week, roughly 150 sets were reported to account for about 30% of Japanese casualties from rifle and carbine fire at night, an astonishing share for a handful of weapons amid an invasion force of more than 180,000. Even when numbers are read cautiously, the tactical effect was plain. Night infiltration, once a reliable Japanese tool, became a costly gamble. The systems were not magic. A squall could wash out the image. The cable snagged. Battery weight slowed repositioning. Teams learned to shoot, shift, and call targets for mortars and artillery as larger enemy groups appeared in their scopes. They became early warning nodes as much as snipers, multiplying the strength of ordinary rifle companies. Planners took notice. As concepts for Operation Downfall took shape, thousands more sets were penciled in to blanket beachheads and urban approaches, where darkness would otherwise favor defenders. Production lines were already scaling. By war's end, around 1,900 T3 M3 carbines existed with spares and upgrades on order. Japan's surrender halted the expansion, but not the idea. From those first Buck Rogers rigs flows a straight lineage to modern night vision gear. Today's tubes are lighter, sharper, and longer-ranged, but the logic is unchanged. Turn invisible light into a visible picture, and make darkness tactically irrelevant. On Okinawa, for the first time, a rifleman could look into the night, see a human being who could not see him, and decide the fight. In that ghostly green glow, the sanctuary of darkness vanished, and with it, a tactic that had haunted American soldiers across the Pacific.